The bright lights flood the stage. The studio audience sits in silence, eyes locked on the two figures at the center. A grand debate stage, polished floors reflecting the overhead spotlights. On the left, a well-known liberal TV host exuding confidence. He adjusts his tie, leans forward ever so slightly, and smirks. On the right, Karoline Leavitt, poised, calm, composed as ever. Host, smug, condescending tone. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very interesting guest tonight. Host's eyes narrow. He thinks he has the upper hand. Takes a deep breath, ready to go for the kill. Host, mocking smile. Karoline Leavitt, former Trump aide, proud conservative. Tell me, leans in slightly, why do Republicans always seem to be fighting facts? Camera shift. Karoline's face. She doesn't flinch. She doesn't blink. She just sits there, unshaken, waiting. She tilts her head slightly, then smirks. The battle has begun. Host, arrogant, smug tone. So, Karoline, let's talk about facts. He pauses, looking her up and down. You worked for Donald Trump, a man who's made a career out of spreading misinformation. Host leans in, eyes narrowed. The audience can feel the challenge in the air. Host, raising an eyebrow. I'm sure you've seen the reports. Trump claimed he built the strongest economy America has ever seen, but when we look at the numbers, the reality is quite different, isn't it? Host, continuing, voice full of conviction. Under Trump, the deficit soared, healthcare became more expensive, and the rich got richer. Under Biden, unemployment is down, wages are rising. Don't you think it's time we stop pretending that Trump's policies weren't just disastrous for America? Camera zooms out, showing the studio audience's reactions. Some are nodding, while others shift uncomfortably. Karoline stays still, her hands resting calmly on the table. Host leans back with a smile. Tell me, Karoline, how do you explain this disparity? Or is it too difficult to swallow the truth that the left actually made progress? Karoline, slow, steady tone, direct. David, I appreciate your attempt, but let's not rewrite history. Her eyes are focused, calm, yet there's an intensity beneath her surface. She knows exactly how to strike back. Karoline, assertive. You're standing here on national television telling the American people that things are better under Biden. Well, let's talk about the facts. Karoline, calm but firm. Under Trump, gas prices averaged $2.07 per gallon. Under Biden, they're hovering over $4 in many states. Camera switches to host. The host's smile fades slightly. He wasn't expecting her to have data ready. Karoline, pressing further. Inflation under Trump? Less than 2%. Under Biden, it skyrocketed to over 9% at its peak. Karoline with a slight chuckle. But you're right, David. Let's talk about reality. The reality is that under Trump, we saw one of the fastest economic recoveries in modern history. After the pandemic, the unemployment rate dropped to 3.5%, the lowest in 50 years. Close-up, shot on host. His expression shifts. He wasn't prepared for this level of knowledge. Karoline, eyes steady, voice unwavering. But under Biden, the economy was already bouncing back when he took office. He didn't fix anything. He just took credit for a recovery that was already happening. Host, cutting in sharply, voice tinged with frustration. That's misleading, Karoline. Inflation is a global issue. We're not the only ones facing this. She doesn't flinch. Her expression is calm, almost amused. Karoline, unfazed. David, I'm not here to twist facts. You're the one rewriting history. You bring up global issues, but that doesn't change the reality of Biden's failed policies. The tension in the room is palpable. Karoline, steady, confident. Let's not forget, under Trump, inflation was at 1.4% before Biden even took office. And now, in 2022, we're staring at 7.5%. You can't blame Trump for that. David tries to shift in his seat. The audience can feel him trying to regain control, but Karoline has already seized the narrative. Host, flustered, quick to respond. Okay, but let's be honest. Trump was under investigation for multiple legal matters, and that's impacting everything. How do you explain his untrustworthiness? Tension hangs in the air. Karoline, with a knowing smile. David, if we're talking about honesty and untrustworthiness, let's look at the facts here. Caroline stands tall, her words slicing through the tension. Caroline. David, it's funny. You keep saying the American people deserve the truth, yet you seem terrified of it. Host. Shifts uncomfortably in his seat, voice tightens. Terrified of it. You're the one trying to twist everything, Caroline. Caroline. No, David. The truth is right in front of you, and you're too afraid to face it. You're so busy selling a narrative that you can't see the reality, and that's the problem with mainstream media today. Host. Voice rising, defensive. And what's your point, Caroline? You think the world is better off with Trump's lies? Caroline. David, this isn't about Trump. This is about accountability, honesty, and integrity. You can't stand the fact that under Trump, America was stronger. And deep down, you know it. Host, flustered, quickly interrupts. That's just your opinion, Caroline. It's not facts. Caroline. Oh, but that's exactly where you're wrong. You see, the facts are out there, and you can't hide from them anymore. America was thriving under Trump, and you can't spin your way out of that. Caroline. Let's talk about the facts, David. Here's a sheet from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. It's from December 2020, just before Biden took office. Pauses, holds up the document. Inflation rate under Trump was just 1.4%. That's a stable economy. Host, interrupts. Inflation is a global issue, Caroline. Don't try to act like Trump was in full control. Caroline. I'm not denying global factors, David. But it's funny how when you look at January 2022, under Biden's leadership, inflation hit 7.5%. And yet you keep acting like Trump's policies were the problem, calmly letting her words sink in. You want the truth, David? Trump's economic policies actually led to historic job growth and record low unemployment. Before the pandemic, we hit 3.5%, the lowest in 50 years. Host, skeptical, scoffing. That was before the pandemic. Are you really going to use that to defend him? Caroline. That's exactly the point, David. The pandemic was a global crisis, not a policy failure. And even with the pandemic, Trump oversaw the fastest economic recovery in modern history. Pauses, watching the host's face. And look at what we have now under Biden. Do you think he fixed anything, or did he simply take credit for the rebound Trump started? Host, uncertain, tries to deflect. Let's not forget, Caroline. Trump is facing multiple legal challenges. Doesn't that make his trustworthiness a huge issue? Caroline. You want to talk about trustworthiness? Fine, let's go there. But let's get something straight, David. Trump didn't start this wave of legal battles. Political lawfare has been around long before him. Pauses to let that land. And let's not forget, it wasn't just Trump questioning election results. Hillary Clinton did it in 2016, and Stacey Abrams did it in Georgia. When Democrats do it, it's protecting democracy. When Republicans do it, it's a threat to democracy. Isn't that convenient? Host, growing defensive. That's a completely different situation, Caroline. Caroline. No, David, it's not. It's the same situation. The problem is mainstream media's double standards. You constantly ignore the truth when it doesn't fit your narrative. Holds up another sheet of paper. For example, in 2019, you said, rising wages and record low unemployment prove the economy is thriving. That was under Trump, right? Host, nervous laugh. Well, things change, Caroline. But wait, David, just 3 years later under Biden, you said, unemployment numbers don't tell the full story. Wages aren't keeping up with inflation. You flipped your position, and I'm not the one rewriting history. You're shifting your stance based on who's in office, not the facts. Host, frustrated, trying to fight back. That's just your perspective, Caroline. We've got to look at the bigger picture. Caroline. Oh, I agree, David. The bigger picture is that the media shapes the story, not the facts. You don't report the news, you shape it. And when facts don't fit your narrative, you twist them. That's not journalism, that's propaganda. Caroline, and David, since you love talking about the truth so much, let's have a little truth moment, shall we? Let's take a look at this video, something you said not long ago. I think the American people deserve to hear it. The clip plays. It's the host from an earlier interview speaking about Trump's economic policies. Video clip. Host. If we're being objective, Trump's economic policies led to historic job growth and increased wages. You may not like his style, but you can't argue with the numbers. The clip ends and the studio falls into an eerie silence. The host's face drains of color. Karoline. Well, David. I guess you can argue with your own words now, can't you? Her voice is steady, almost too calm. Isn't it fascinating how you admitted just months ago that Trump's policies were effective? But now suddenly you're on national television calling them disastrous. The audience murmurs, visibly uncomfortable. Some exchange glances while others shift in their seats. Karoline. You see, David, this is exactly what I mean. You say the American people deserve the truth, but you don't even trust your own words. You're too busy playing a game with their perceptions. But the truth is, you can't rewrite history when it's been recorded. The camera cuts to the host. His expression is tight. He struggles to find words, but nothing comes. Host, his voice falters. That was taken out of context, Karoline. Karoline. Taken out of context? You said it with your own mouth, David. You can't rewrite that. And here's the kicker. You do it all the time, don't you? She leans forward, locking eyes with him. You sit here pretending like the truth doesn't matter, like you can just move on. But the internet isn't letting you get away with this. Cut to real-time comments popping up on the screen. David Langford exposed. Hypocrisy at its finest. He literally admitted it. This is why we don't trust mainstream media. Caught in 4K, this is why they always twist the facts. Karoline. It's happening in real time, David. The internet explodes when your lies are caught. Social media doesn't forget, and neither do the American people. She pauses, letting that statement sink in. This is your moment of exposure, David. You're caught. You can't hide from it. Not this time. The host shifts uncomfortably in his seat. His face is pale, his confidence shattered. Karoline. It's over, David. You were hoping no one would notice. But they did. And now, everyone is watching. Host, flustered, voice trembling. That was taken out of context, Karoline. You're twisting my words. He tries to regain composure, but it's clear he's rattled. Let's talk about Trump then, huh? Let's talk about his character, his actions, and the damage he's done to this country. He gestures wildly, desperate to shift the focus away from his own exposed hypocrisy. Trump is facing multiple investigations. He incited violence, lied to the public, and caused a divide that this country may never recover from. Karoline, calmly with a slight smile. David, when you're losing an argument, you change the subject. You attack Trump instead of addressing your own contradictions. She leans forward slightly, her voice firm and controlled. That's not journalism, David. That's manipulation. The audience suddenly erupts in applause. The energy in the room shifts, with the crowd visibly in support of Karoline's stance. Karoline. Unfazed, she raises an eyebrow at the host's failed attempt. You can't control the narrative when it's already out in the open. Her voice becomes even more assured. The truth is, David, you were caught in your own words, and no amount of deflection can change that. Karoline. She turns toward the camera, her voice steady and unwavering, eyes sharp. David, let's be clear. This isn't just about politics. This is about truth. It's about accountability. And it's about a media that's been twisting and shaping stories to fit a narrative, all while pretending to be the authority on truth. She pauses, locking eyes with the camera, emphasizing her words. Karoline. Tonight, the American people saw exactly what's wrong with the mainstream media. They saw how easily a narrative can be spun and how quickly it can all fall apart when facts are placed in front of it. Her tone sharpens. David, you've been caught, and no amount of deflection, no quick switch to attacking Trump can change the truth that you lied on this very stage. The camera pans to the host, who is now silent, his eyes fixed on the table, unable to respond. He's defeated. Karoline, her voice is cold but powerful. You tried to manipulate the American people, David, but today you've been exposed for exactly what you are. She stands up, looking down at the host one final time, her expression unreadable. Karoline, journalism is about truth. It's about integrity. And when you abandon that, you lose your credibility. She delivers the final line with piercing clarity. And as for you, David, your credibility, it's gone. Forever. The camera cuts to the show's end credits. The host remains motionless, his silence deafening. The entire studio feels the weight of the moment. Karoline, calmly but with a knowing smile. And just like that, the truth spreads. The world is watching, David, and the internet doesn't forget. Cut to real-time screenshots of Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram, posts and memes flooding in. Karoline Leavitt just exposed the media. This is why we don't trust mainstream news anymore. David Langford caught lying on live TV. Exposed in 4K, media manipulation. Karoline, her voice growing even more assured, watching the online firestorm unfold. Within minutes, the clip goes viral. Twitter, TikTok, and Instagram are blowing up with reaction videos and memes. People are catching on. Everyone is talking about the truth you couldn't hide, David. Cut to comments flooding in. David Langford exposed. He lied to millions on live TV. The mainstream media has officially been busted. Karoline Leavitt for president. Karoline went on with a slight grin. Memes, tweets, comments. The internet has spoken. The truth is everywhere. Cut to a series of posts from David's own colleagues. Journalists distancing themselves from him, some even openly criticizing his handling of the interview. Political analyst. This is why we need integrity in journalism. Ex-producer. When the truth gets buried, it always comes back up. Karoline with a tone of satisfaction. Even his own colleagues are distancing themselves, David. The media can no longer ignore the truth. Cut to headlines flooding in on major news sites. Karoline Leavitt destroys media lies and live debate. Mainstream media exposed. Karoline Leavitt takes down host with his own words. Karoline, she turns to face the camera one last time, a final victory in her voice. The internet doesn't just watch, it reacts. And today the internet reacted loudly. Karoline sits back in her chair, adjusting her blazer with a calm, victorious air. She looks directly into the camera, her expression resolute and powerful. Karoline, with steady confidence, her voice carrying weight and clarity. The truth doesn't belong to the media, it belongs to the people. She pauses, letting her words sink in, the weight of the moment hanging in the air. Karoline, it's time to stand up, to question the narratives, and to hold the media accountable for the lies they try to feed us. We control the truth, not them. She leans forward slightly, her tone more passionate and assertive now. Karoline, the media may try to twist the facts, manipulate the story, but we, the people, are smarter than that. We know what's real, and we're not afraid to say it. She locks eyes with the camera, her voice cutting through the silence, commanding attention. Karoline, so if you believe in truth over spin, in facts over feelings, hit that subscribe button, because this is just the beginning.